Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Spears and Steinberg podcast. Right here with Spears.
How y'all feel out there?
What time is it? Game time. Fuck your face, nigga. Fuck your face. I've said on here multiple times that Andrew and I don't judge the musical talent because it's not about us. It's about their chance to shine. And I think this is only the second time, maybe third time, I've had to comment about a musical guest. I remember one comment I made, I specifically spoke about the guy. And again, I try to make it my business not to get involved. I try to mind my own business. But every now and then...
Open platform.
Yeah.
You put up what you want.
Yeah. Every now and then something just stands out. And I remember the one brother who sounded so like Tupac. And I had to address it because I just went, listen, we all are motivated by someone. We are influenced by someone. And oftentimes until you find your own voice and establish your own legs, you mimic that person, which is not a bad thing. Because if you're going to, copy off homework, you want to copy off the smartest motherfucker in the room.
You were Eddie Murphy when you first. Everybody has some voice that they take.
And I still feel like I'm still trying to find my voice. Every now and then on stage, I'm like P. Diddy of comedy, nigga. I sample a lot of motherfuckers. I dip into some Chappelle. I dip into some Patrice. But you don't want to stay that person because otherwise, what's the point of you? So that brother just sounded so much like Tupac, the cadence, everything. Then I remember there was another guy who was so awful. I mean, the beats were so awful. And I think I said he sounded like 80s video game music. And I played it. And now there's this one. So this is the third one. I can't remember the artist's name, but fuck your face. Justin, my boy. Justin hit me. At first, he was kind of like, he wasn't saying it was great, but he was like, yo, to younger generation, this shit slaps. And you know how these younger generation, I don't think these young motherfuckers have a handle on what good shit is. So I don't know how much that means. Mookie hit me and was like, this shit straight garbage, nigga. And then our girl A.B. was just thanking me for the laughs. So I listened to it, and I always listen to the podcast every Wednesday and Thursday, because again, for me, that's game tape. So I had told Justin when he hit me up, and Mookie, I hadn't heard it yet. I was probably about 10 minutes into the pod when they told me about it. So I said, yo, as soon as pod has come to it, and I'll hear it, because I always do. Man, that shit, I hit Andy and said, nigga, you got to hear this. That shit was comical as a motherfucker. And then I said to Andy yesterday, as we were going up the escalator in Albany to the show, was he being funny?
I thought he was being both. There's beats in it.
Yes.
And then, fuck your face.
Right.
And the way he says it.
Right.
I think it could be both. I think it could have had the intent of being musical, which it was.
Right.
But have a little, like it could have a little humor onto it with the fuck your face. I thought it was funny. I started laughing.
Right. I thought it was funny too.
And but to make sure that whoever did it, because you said you didn't have the name, and I apologize that I don't have it. We should have pulled it up. But the idea is, if you have beats and you have musical talent and you can make it funny, there's nothing wrong. I think that's great. That's great.
Weird Al Yankovic had a whole career of it.
But I don't think it was on a Weird Al.
No, I don't either. Yeah. But it definitely wasn't, yo, I'm from the streets, take me, I kill a motherfucker. It's fuck your face.
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought it was funny. Man, I was like, if we have a new, if we put out a new theme song, I said to you last night, I go, we should have him, fuck your ears or fuck up your, fuck your head.
Fuck your face might, as we slide into episode 400, might have to replace, you go fuck yourself, convict.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit of fuck your face. Speaking of new intro music, I had told Andy, a lot of y'all hip hop heads will remember Pete Rock and CL Smooth. When reminisce over you. I reached out to him on Instagram. He hit me back. He'll be in LA on the 20th next week. And I'm going to go meet with him and Peter Guns I don't know if you know Peter. Remember Peter Guns?
Yeah.
Uptown, baby.
Yeah.
Uptown, baby. Matter of fact, talk about inspiration. It was that video that inspired me. Once I got a little bit of money, I got those 2 leather, one mustard yellow, hot dog mustard yellow, and one O.J. Simpson blood red baseball jerseys with the New York symbol on them and my name in the back. And that was straight 90s type shit. There's just an all leather, solid color, leather baseball jersey with the Yankees symbol stitched on the chest and my name on the back. But yeah, Peter Guns, Uptown, baby. We get down, baby. They're both fans of mine. And I said, look, man, don't get me wrong. I like the new intro song. I like it. But I want something that slaps like that MOP Annie up. Because whenever we would do a cold open and then you follow it with the MOP or something like that, that is like SWAT kicking open your door at 4 a.m, waking you up out your sleep with guns and lights in your face. Get on the fucking floor. And I love the aggression of it. And when we did the Will Smith, Chris Rock, keep my name out your motherfucking mouth. Cut to dead Annie up. Dot, dot, dot. I wanted that beat. This one's a little mellowish. And I said to Pete Rock, yo, dog, what's CL Smooth? I think the rapper CL Smooth. I said to CL, man, hey, you think it's possible you and Peter Guns can give me a bunch of beats for me and Andy to listen to so we could pick one? Because, and much respect to my man that made the theme song we got now, but I need that. I'm straight breaking in your house and I'm putting the gun in your fucking mouth, inside your mouth, and I'm going, nigga, show me where the safe at. I like that shit. That aggressive shit. Get on the fucking floor. Make your belly kiss the floor. I love it. You know what I'm saying? I just want something harder. So when we do a cold open, we kick the fucking door in.
Dude, why not like the sound of breaking glass and then some hard beats right after it and then
whatever. You could layer the sandwich how you want to layer it.
Yeah, but
the meat's got to be there though.
But like when you do a cold open and then you would hear like the sound of glass breaking, that crash.
Like imagine that what you just said, the glass breaks, and I'm just picking random shit that I think would fit. But imagine if you heard the glass break and it was straight out of Compton.
Yeah.
The nigga named Ice Cube. Or you hear the glass break and it's slam. Boom, donna, dun, donna. Let the boys be boys. Slam. Like that hard shit, man. Come on, man. Is that your grandmother? I don't give a fuck. Bitch, kiss the ground. Show me where the safe at. Oh, God. I just want something stronger. That other shit is a little too mellow. That's more De La Soulish.
See, and that's the problem. I'm a De La Soul dude.
I know you are.
I would like some Bootsy with some just really hard bass riffs.
Yeah, baby. Welcome to the Spears and Steinberg podcast, baby.
I'm telling you though, broken glass and then like a car backfiring like 3 times. Boom, boom, boom.
Anything that sounds chaotic. Bootsy, baby. Have you ever ate a kale salad out of white bitch booty hole, baby? You don't know the tastiness of fresh greens till you eat it out of Caucasian girl's butthole while she's in a yoga stance on her head and her legs are forming a V shape, baby.
Dude, you should do that.
What?
As one of your impressions.
Boots Collins?
Yeah. Now I know not everybody's going to know who
Right.
it is, but you got
black people definitely know Boots Collins.
Yeah, but you got to say it. So
It's Bootsy, baby.
you know,
Yeah.
he was in the 90s. In the 90s, he was in that white, like kind of funk delight.
Right.
So white people know who.
I remember the first time I went to Taiwan, baby, a Vietnamese, baby. I had an Asian bitch stand on her head as I ate pho out of her vagina, baby. Is that a piece of brisket, baby, or is that your clitoris? Okay. Today, on Public Broadcasting Network, Andy and I are going to be discussing 2 documentaries. One is called Can We Take a Joke? Which, of course, is about comedians talking about this vagina era we live in. And the other one was a great one that I had wanted to watch, and he brought it to my attention before I could bring it to his attention, even though my intention was to bring it to his attention. So everybody pay attention.
Which one are you doing first?
Can we take a joke?
Okay.
But the Tony Hawk, if you just put y'all up on Tony Hawk. Oh, excuse me. Louis about to talk to me.
See, here's the thing. We were going to do the emails right now, and we didn't. And now Louis is ready to come out already.
Yeah, I just woke up. I know it's 2 p.m, but I was in a donut coma. But I'm better now. Wait a minute. Oh, that's not saliva. That's glaze. All right. Tony Hawk on HBO. Y'all got to see it. It's fucking dope. But anyway, so this Can We Take a Joke? Dude, I'm not even a minute and 20 seconds into this, and I wanted to break my goddamn iPad. The opening is a bunch of cuts of various comedians, celebrities in comedy apologizing.
Yeah.
It's just people saying I'm sorry. And I can't remember exactly. I kind of remember Jimmy Kimmel, I guess, did some joke about the Asian community. Cut to, he's outside where they shoot the Jimmy Kimmel show. And it's like a fucking press conference. And he's surrounded by political figures in the Asian community, important people. And he's apologizing. And you hear this one Asian woman, I assume, yell off camera, and you should apologize to all the Asian parents. And I just wanted to chuck my fucking iPad and break it. Because in my mind, I was like, get the fuck out of here. I can't remember exactly the joke he did. I'm sure you probably won't.
I don't remember it, but it was a character, wasn't it?
I don't know. I don't know what it was.
But did you hear his response when?
Yes, he eventually said, I can't keep apologizing every night. And listen, and this is part of why I understand after having my Instagram taken, this is a business. And in the business of advertisers, which means dollars and companies that invest in these $1 million commercial spots, yes, you have to be careful about what you say, because if you offend any community, those are potential customers. So I get that. But just, this apology shit, it just, yeah, I and listen, some of this, Andy and I have obviously discussed on the podcast when talking about comedy, but I'm just like, this pussy ass shit that we live in, it has to stop. I keep believing it's going to stop. So my question first was, dude, are we ever going to get past this? Like, realistically?
You want my real honest?
Then your answer is no.
No, we'll get past it.
You think so?
Yeah, but it's going to take something that brings us out. I hate to say this, man, because I feel bad when I say this, but it's going to be something that brings the need for people to toughen up, which is always economic disaster, and which is followed by war. And when you get into a seriousness, when you're in a battle, jokes aren't your focus anymore. Right. This is really, I think, could say something about where we are. Our life is so, we have it. And I know a lot of people aren't going to agree with what I'm about to say. Life is getting easier, and the easier life gets, the more you can focus downward on what is wrong or what is offensive or what is
silly shit.
Yeah. You start because you don't have enough big shit fucking smashing you. Now you get into the sillier shit of what there is no time ever that I can imagine in during World War II, where like when there's this huge war happening, that someone would have said, that's inappropriate to talk about X. Like this isn't the right way to go about it. You just don't do that because there's huge issues.
All right, but that's interesting that you said that, because you went, it's going to take something big enough to take the focus off the little shit, right?
Yeah.
But isn't that how comedy works? When the big shit happens, you need more comedy more than ever. In terms of tragedy and war and tough shit.
So you let it go. So that's why you let it go, because people understand at that moment when big shit's going on, you understand the levity. You understand that they're making fun of it. The problem is we're taking ourselves so fucking serious about every detail that a joke can't be made because you took it seriously. You didn't take it for what it was, which is mocking what the status quo is, or mocking what racism is, or mocking anything that you mock. You're not taking it as mockery. You're taking it as seriousness, because life isn't hard enough for you right now.
Right.
I'm not saying that life isn't hard for people. Life is hard for people, but in our effort to grow to grow our culture, you tend to focus on things that are serious. And if there isn't anything that is serious, we're talking about gas right now, because gas is expensive. And we're also going to talk about inflation, because inflation's going up. So our dollar isn't going any further. And so now people have more access. Before, when your dollar wasn't worth as much, people weren't paying attention to it. They didn't have Robinhood accounts. They didn't understand investing. They didn't or even know that they could invest. So now people are caught up in this, and as it continues to go, and the people are trying to do more. It's just that they're trying. It's in a point where we're educated, we're smart, and being smart, we're not using our education to stop and prevent bad shit from happening. We're using our education to prevent people from even looking at the culture that we have right now. And yes, we should improve it, but they have to understand that comedy, when you're irreverent, when you're flipping things on their side, is part of calling out the culture that you live in and flipping it and making that go. But if you can't say anything, then you can't do that. And we're not making it better. We're making it smarter. We're trying to make our culture smarter.
But in doing that, aren't we being dumb?
Yeah, because you're focused on something that didn't need to be addressed, other than it is satire, it is comedy, it is a way to make a mockery of something that isn't as serious as you think. Or, like, I like talking about death, and you don't even like me talking about death as much as I do. But you know what death is? And this is why I like talking about it so much. It's one thing that we all have in common. You're a black dude, I'm a white dude. We all die, though, right? So beside any of our culture, do you have people in your life that have passed?
Yes.
Me too. So take away racism, take away any racial overtones, take away our financial situation. You have a few more dollars than I do.
Okay.
Yeah, we have all these situations, but death is something that is.
But you hope is better than nigga money.
It is, but we both have death is something that we all experience. So it's easy for me to mock that because we're afraid of it. Right. And people think that I'm making a bad joke about people who have passed, but I'm not. I'm mocking death because it's something that we're all dealing with. Whether we want to admit it or not, we got on this planet, and the day we're born is the first day to our death. We are on a timeline. We're not going to be here forever. So that after you're born, that's your day one, and every day after that is the countdown. And we don't know where it ends. We all have that in common. So when I'm making a joke about it, I am being irreverent to death because we're all experiencing it at the same time, whether we realize it or not. And that's the joke. But if you want to take it that I'm making fun of someone who's passed, that's for you to do. And then you want to cancel me, or you're not canceling me because I'm not anything to cancel. But if you wanted to make my job harder, you could get offended by it. You could say that I'm being a horrible person, but I'm not. I'm making fun of it.
Well, again, the comic team Penn and Teller, I forget which one is the big one with the glasses. Penn
Jillette.
He said, he echoed something that you've said many of times, which is true, which is through humor, it causes you to think. Through thinking, we can start the conversation. And the idea that people don't grasp that and they don't see that as a great thing. When you talk about we're being smarter, no, we're fucking idiots. For you not to be able to understand that concept and understand that and see that, then we're not very smart.
Well, because we want to be smart through a book. That's how we're acting right now. We can be smart through education, but we're not smart through education. We're smart through conversation because everything that was written had to be talked about before. So what it is that, like you just said, whatever I'm saying, whether I'm right or wrong in my assessment as a comedian, if I lead to a conversation that changes things, that's all that's important. And all conversation leads to change. It doesn't change
Sometimes,
everybody. But it all leads to change. Right. It doesn't necessarily change everyone, but it changes. Every conversation leads to change. I don't know where that change is going to be positive or negative. I don't know if it's going to change this person versus that person, but all conversation leads to some form of change. Because to have a conversation is to open up your mind. If you're having a conversation, if you're waiting, and this is why the beauty of comedy is, and this is where comedy is really beautiful. In any conversation, and we experienced this the other day, but when someone says you have to sit in silence and listen to the person so that you can hear them, that's what comedians are granted, is a moment that silence from the crowd so that you listen to what we have to say. And if you came to a comedy show, A, to see comedy, B, to understand that this is a show and this isn't necessarily 100% of our feelings, but we're trying to evoke emotion, and you sit there and you listen to it, you will get that from us. But if you are just thinking about your reply, why it's wrong, then it's wrong and you're never going to hear what we said. There's more to what we're saying than just the words.
Lisa Lampanelli, who of course was perfect for this because she, marketed herself as an insult comic. And I always said, listen, subjective, she was never my cup of tea because to me it came off more like shock value than actual jokes, but that's subjective. When she talked about the motherfucker who stormed the stage over a Journey joke.
Yeah.
And I said to myself, what is not going on in your life that the band Journey, or any band for that matter, would piss you off to the point where you want to storm the fucking stage? Listen, even if she had touched, or if any comic would have touched the taboo subjects, politics, race, rape, anything that would be considered vile. And not that race is considered vile, but it's always been, a tipping, what's the word I'm looking for? It's always been a hard spot, whatever, to discuss. But this bitch is talking about a band. A fucking band. And when they cut to the footage, he was that irate. And I just sat back in my seat, went, Lord, this is what I'm talking about. My next life. Don't make me be that guy. I don't want to be that guy. Because I'm going, you are a cross between, and I don't know, because her audience is largely gay. I don't know if he was gay or not. But even if what straight man, he had to be. What straight man is upset about Journey?
Okay.
And you're a fucking loser who gets either no pussy or no dick. If you're gay, he ain't getting enough cock. That upsets you?
Well, but here, and this goes back to how I was trying to explain it. I can explain it better this way. How good is your life that if everything she talked about on stage before didn't affect you at all, but the band Journey did?
Journey.
So that's the same thing people are having when they're outraged about a joke about what's it called? I'm going to forget the word. What's it called when I just make an assumption because you're black or because you're Asian or because
race?
No, when I make an assumption about it.
Stereotype?
Oh. Yeah, because I made a stereotype reference to making a joke.
When Andy talks, it's like me and this nigga's playing $100,000 pyramid. He give out clues.
I couldn't remember the word stereotype.
Okay.
Yeah. But that's what it is because that's all. None of the other stuff affected you because it isn't emotionally affecting your life. It doesn't put anything on your heart. It doesn't move you in any emotional way. But Journey does. So how good is your life? The journey is what affects you.
Dude, I can't, as a comic, I can't co-sign saying whether it's abortion, rape, race, politics, you have the right to be offended. If in the context of comedy, I will never co-sign that. But I will give it, and I hate even saying this because it sounds like I'm co-signing it. And at least, and I'm not co-signing it, but at least those are things where, okay, I guess if you're going to get triggered, those are the things that can trigger you. But Journey, yo, don't stop believing. What the fuck is wrong with you?
She stopped believing, and it hurt him as a person that she couldn't believe anymore. But understanding that is in what you said, all that other stuff needs to be talked about. And the only way to really talk about these taboo subjects, these subjects that cause people to get mad, is to put a humorous spin on. And the reason I even sent this to you right away because the first person they talked to is Gilbert Godfrey, and he just passed recently. And Gilbert was the best.
Oh, big shout out to Gilbert
Yeah,
Gottfried.
rest in peace, man. But he was, you know what? No, a little discomfort because Gilbert wasn't a comfortable person. He shouldn't be so peaceful.
He always looked like his ass itch.
Yeah. He loved irreverent jokes. He loved jokes that caused a little cringe. But
Right.
here's the thing. When he did that Affleck thing that lost him that contract.
Right, because of the joke he made about the tsunami.
Yeah. Okay. How many people were affected by the tsunami in America?
No one, none.
None. So when he made the joke that says, I forgot exactly what the joke is.
Something to the extent of, was there a business or something in this area? And the person said no, but there will be in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Right.
Which
made me laugh.
it made you laugh, but he also made you realize what's happening there right now.
Right.
That it's so bad that this is not only that there's buildings floating by you.
Right.
He was able to tell you in a way that's humorous, but the reaction to being humorous at one point and then going, oh man, that's for real though.
Right.
Went to this reaction today. Oh, that is a terrible joke, and you should not be able to speak anymore because now I don't even want to be affected by what just happened there in a humorous way at all so that I can digest it in a way that my brain can operate. I just want to be offended, and I don't want to have to think about that school sliding by in the water during the tsunami.
Right.
Think about it. If you want to remove it, that means you really don't want to talk about it, which is much worse.
You know, once upon a time ago, this country used to be Burt Bridgewater. When did it turn into Yasper McQuarrie? Because we were tougher than this. We were tougher than this. Not saying we shouldn't have compassion or empathy or try to help where we can. We've always done what we could to help. But Jesus.
It's because we want it to be better. But we're not being better with the things that we need to change. We're being better with the things we don't want to hear. It's harder to change things that are hard. It's easy just to change a comic from saying what's funny or what he wants to say to evoke the emotion. But this is because we've done things wrong in the past. We have done things wrong, and we're trying to improve those. But we need to improve those, and you got to understand that comics are the social satirists that bring it to your attention that things are fucked up. I mean, how long ago was Richard Pryor when he talked about breaking, I can't say the word, breaking an N-word?
Breaking a nigga?
Yeah, because he's talked about the chokehold that actually killed.
Right.
How long ago was that?
Right.
Where was the change, though? So this is still going on. You could make that joke today, but if you made that joke today, it would be offensive.
Maybe.
But it needs to be said.
Let me ask you in your personal opinion, because I remember when he did the joke and someone said too soon, when he did the 9/11 joke, he said, I got to make a stopover at the Empire State Building. Now that was what are we, 2022 now? That was almost what? Was it 2001?
2000. Yeah, it was
20 years ago, right?
Yeah.
All right. Is that still off limits? Is that funny now? Or, you know what I mean?
Well, that's what they say. Time, tragedy plus time equals humor.
Right.
But the thing is, to make it, if you can address it while it's still fresh, that's something. And people got upset about it. But here's the other point. And here's the other point. It happened there. Mm-hmm. He made a joke about how it could happen there.
Right.
Are you aware that it could happen there? Are you aware that this could happen again? Is that not what he's saying to us in a joking way?
Could be.
But you want his joke to take responsibility for the World Trade Center. His joke it's not about the World Trade. It is about the World Trade, but you want that joke to take responsibility for it because you don't want to hear it. Right. When the truth is, I have a connection at the Empire State Building. That's how fucked up this shit is. That's so funny because how fucked up it is. But you don't want to hear that. You want to go, ooh, too soon. First of all, as far as I'm concerned, there's never too soon.
I disagree. There is too soon. Listen, God, I don't want to seem like I'm not trying to live up to the badge and the oath. There's a reason why they say timing is everything.
Yeah.
And listen, funny is funny. And you can't, you can try to be a phony and not laugh. But if something really tickles your funny bone, you laugh. But I think that certain jokes are almost like Red Fox albums. back in the day. You listen to them in private, in your basement, amongst your friends and family, and you snicker and you laugh in the privacy of your home. Those kind of jokes that people would deem too soon are Richard Pryor, are Red Fox albums. Later, yes, when the timing is different, yeah, you put them out there, but something where the fucking wound doesn't even have a scab over it yet.
And the joke
For me as a comedian and as a funny guy, I don't give a fuck. Like I said, when my man from Crisscross died and I made the backwards casket joke, I did that literally the week he died on stage. But he doesn't have, and I don't mean like, I don't want to come off like I'm demeaning somebody's life, but in terms of a 9/11 versus a single person, you see what I'm saying? The magnitude is way different.
I understand that. But then this is the other side of it. Too soon, too funny. If it ain't too funny, if it's too funny, then it's not too soon. If it ain't funny enough, then it's too soon. It's the weight. The weight has to be so funny. And unfortunately, Gilbert's joke at that moment wasn't as funny as wasn't funny enough. Do you think there could ever be a joke that funny? Like if 9/11 happened and a week later, you're telling a 9/11 joke a week later in New York, could there ever be a joke that funny? If you're that funny and it is that funny, should you stop from saying it if it's that funny?
Ooh.
That's the question. If it's that funny.
Ooh. Pull your balls out. Let me see how much they weigh.
But here's the other side of this. You're talking about a 9/11 joke, and we all experienced 9/11 at the same time, right?
Right.
So I did something last night, and I called it a cute abortion joke.
Right.
The audience laughed. It's a cute joke. It's a silly joke, right?
Right.
What if someone had just had an abortion that week in the room? Would they think it's funny?
I see your point. Absolutely not. If you had a family member that you lost on 9/11, be it the plane, the building, whatever, I don't think a 9/11 joke would ever be funny to that person.
But how am I, as a comic who's speaking in general terms, supposed to know what your particular problem is?
Right.
And if you have a particular problem, I suggest you don't come to a comedy show. Because if you don't think you can get past the worst thing, don't come, because I don't know anything about you, your family, your background. I don't know what's going to affect you. So if you have the access to YouTube, you have the access to Instagram, you know who the person is, check out who they are before you come. If that's the case, if someone bought you a ticket and said, you seem like you're down, I'm going to take you to a comedy show. Well, then you should see who you're going to go see, because not all comics are there to make you just chuckle.
Right.
So, and I don't know what you're dealing with, and it's not my fault you're dealing with it. I had nothing to do with what happened. My joke has nothing to do with what happened. I'm very passionate about this because I got into this older, and this was one of the reasons I got into it, is because I love the irreverence of what comedy can do. I love the fact that you can be irreverent and make a point. I'm telling you, Richard Pryor, early influence in my life, but Mark Maron, I'm going to say this because I think I might have mentioned this on the podcast earlier. I went to a comedy show that Mark Maron did, and it was in San Francisco, and it was the beginning. I think it's kind of like the beginnings of this, like, we're going to be more politically correct. And it was also an older audience that came out to see Mark at this, and they weren't laughing. They were laughing a little bit, but I was listening to Mark's jokes, and I was listening to what he was saying. I go, that's genius. That's smart. That's funny.
Right.
They're not laughing. And so when no one's laughing, it's hard to get a roll going, and then it's hard for other people to start laughing. When people put their basically just shut down and won't laugh, it's hard to get that room. And I thought to myself after he was done, I was like, he gets to go up and tell his story, and whether they laugh or whether they don't laugh, as long as it's funny in some aspect, maybe not to those people there, but it was written to be funny. I know that it's funny. It has to be funny in some places to other people because it was funny to me.
Right.
That's what you get to do. And I was like, and no one could come over because it's your own business and tell you that you can't do that. Oh, that to me was one of the most amazing free thoughts that I ever had. And from that moment, I wanted to do comedy. It took me years later before I did it. But Mark was one of the reasons why I wanted to do it.
That moment, and I'm glad they brought it up because we've mentioned it several times on the pod, but, colleges, why we don't fuck with colleges. And, George Carlin always felt like colleges were supposed to be, and I think I asked you, did you see this past weekend's Bill Maher?
Yeah.
Yeah, he did. His closing segment was about comedy. And I love how he broke down the Chris Rock Oscars thing. I thought that was genius. But he pointed out, like Carlin said, colleges are supposed to be the place where as a young mind trying to find your voice and stand up for what's right and fight the system and the man, jokes and comedy would be welcome to those sponges, to those mental sponges.
Because you were breaking down the, now I forgot the word. Go on. You're breaking down the establishment. That's what college was for.
Yes. And then they showed the one guy, I think his name was Rodriguez, long hair. He told the joke. And I mean, this white female college student was so irate that first, before she went up on the stage and grabbed the mic from him, you heard her, "Motherfucker, sit down, yeah," yelling at the top of her lungs, all kind of profanity. Then she grabbed the man's mic and proceeded to yell. And I'm gonna be honest, dude, and I've said on this podcast a gazillion times, and I mean this, coming from a young boy who watched his father abuse his mother physically. I don't condone violence against women, but I was so irate, I felt like he should have balled his fist up and went with his gut. Now, again, I'm not promoting violence against women in any way, but I was just that angry because I was just like, how fucking, and as you talk about, this is our dojo. That's like being a student sitting around the mat, Indian style, and your teacher, the Kung Fu master, is teaching a lesson, and maybe he says something or whatever that you don't like. What, you gonna go up there and challenge the teacher? How disrespectful for her to go and try to grab the fucking mic. And the part that really got me was when one of the ladies at the school we had to have a support group for those that went to the show who were traumatized.
They were triggered by his words.
Words have power. And just like, we know that sometimes black people play the race card where they shouldn't. And when you do that, that hurts the cause, because the people that, I don't even want to call it playing the card, but the people that really have racial issues now may not be taken as seriously if we abuse that. When you use the word traumatized, that should be associated with rape victims, children who have experienced child molestation or physical abuse, someone who's lost a loved one to a murder. Maybe you were in a war and you saw one of your fellow soldiers die in your arms, or you lost a limb. That is traumatized.
Car accident.
That's
you see
nearly death.
See it. Yeah, you see it.
Yeah. Jokes, yo. You're associating the word traumatized with jokes.
Okay, but when I said that about the about what Carlin saw in colleges was, it was supposed to be tearing down the establishment, right? So if we're making changes, if we're going through life and we're going through the world and we're changing these things, and so, and not that it's fallen completely, but if the establishment is falling, now in college, we're building another wall, which is the protective wall. But we're starting, instead of continuing to dismantle the establishment, we're starting to rebuild walls.
And become the establishment.
Exactly. And that's where we are right now. And that's why it's so, but they're not taking on real problems. They're taking on words because those affect them immediately, not taking down what's affecting them overall and in the long term. They're working against because they think that because we made a joke that's it. It's not it. It's satirizing the actual establishment, and you guys are missing that. You guys are missing what it is. And I'm very passionate about this. I could talk about this for 10 hours.
Listen, you I know sometimes you're definitely more of the political guy in certain aspects than I am. But when they cut to Jim Norton, and I think he said at one point, Carlin said, it's the left. It's coming from the left, whereas once upon a time ago, it never did. But now it's all the left. And again, I'm not a political guy. I don't want to get deep into an area which I know very little about. But again, I feel like that's one of those things where it's like, and you'll correct me, you'll tell me, but isn't it always been that way from both sides? Or is what he's saying is the left has been so much more open and liberal that they didn't get as uptight as the right? Is that what he's saying?
Kind of, yeah, basically. But what it is that it's the swing of the pendulum. You want to break down the establishment, so you're saying no, 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 and now the pendulum is swung all the way over where now we're listening, but you're still saying no, no, no. No, I don't want this kind of joke. We're dealing with homophobia, so no jokes about homosexuals. They've become part of the establishment because when the pendulum swings over, now the establishment is building up over here. People have to realize that, you can't, you become what you fear. It's at, I think it was in a Batman too, when it says, if you live long enough, it wasn't, I don't know. If you live long enough, I forgot.
Something about the hero becoming the villain?
Villain, yeah.
Right.
That's exactly where we are.
Right.
If you live long enough, the hero eventually becomes the villain because you're fighting what once was a good fight, but now you're fighting it in the wrong direction because you let it. You're winning. You're winning, but now you're taking down. And especially with comics were always the reflection of the society. So when you hear us say something, it is to mock what it is, not necessarily what it is. And sometimes it isn't mocking. Sometimes it is wrong. But as you like to say, the great Dave Chappelle, conversation comes from having the other side. You have to have the other side. When you shut down the other side, you don't change anything. You just, you put it underground and eventually it bubbles up.
My last note, of course, they talked about the great Lenny Bruce. And I want to make sure that I read this as I wrote it because this really bothered me. First of all, again, you just said when Dave Chappelle said on that special he did on Netflix in the Belly Room, and he said, hey, man, people come up to me and go, hey, man, you my hero. Fuck being your hero, nigga. I'm trying to be rich. Because heroes die a lonely, horrible, unrecognized death. And again, by no means am I saying I'm anybody's hero or legend or GOAT, even though I'm called that. I'm not owning that. But it almost what's disheartening to me about that, which to me was a Lenny Bruce, is how it ends. He's a martyr for comedy. And it's like, you look at that story, he eventually was so depressed because of all the going to court, having to go to jail for 4 months, being arrested at his shows, all trying to fight for what was supposed to be free speech and do his craft. He couldn't pay his mortgage. He lost his house and eventually died of an overdose. And I just went, damn, that's how that ends?
No, but I got to tell you this because I love that you brought this up, but that wasn't enough for him. And this is when we talk about the establishment and what you really fighting. They wanted him so bad that you just said he died, right? From a heroin overdose?
Right.
They reposed the body. Like they went in there and then they wanted pictures of him. They basically, from what I
sprinkled a crack on him.
Yeah, and basically from what I heard, actually pulled down his pants so that because he's like laying there naked.
Right.
They wanted it to look as horrible. They wanted that win. That's the establishment. That's the people you're fighting. You're not fighting the person that makes the jokes.
Right.
You're fighting the people that make the jokers the criminal. So if you're fighting, and listen to this from the Lenny Bruce perspective, if you're Lenny Bruce and you're the comic and you're fighting the people that are making you the criminal, now take us to today and you're the left and you're fighting us and you're making us the criminal. Who are we fighting? We're fighting you, motherfucker. We're fighting you. The good people, now we're fighting you. So once you were the hero, now.
But this is, and I hear you, but here's my real issue. This is where I call comedians us on our bullshit. This phony facade that we're this tight-knit community where we should look after each other is complete horseshit. You know, it's easy to stand up for what's right when it's too late. The work's already been done. A la Lenny Bruce. You know, if you know what this man was up against, you know what he was fighting for. He was fighting for our bread and butter, our art form, and he needed money because you knew clubs wouldn't hire him because of the legal situations. He didn't have money. He was depressed. He was losing his house. Where were all the comics that went, yo, let's band together and make sure he don't lose his house.
Oh.
He can live at my house. Let's start a money pool. Let's give him money. Let's pay his mortgage. Let's get him out of this depression. He is fighting for us. He is taking the bullet. We got to do something. And so many times I think I hear comedians who act like and tell these stories, and I'm sure some of them are close buddy, but they're buddies. There's this community. There's this kinship. And it's like when tragedy strikes or when tough times hit, where the fuck are you then?
Well, just going back because you used Lenny Bruce, think about what the establishment was. The establishment were doing the nice, fun jokes. So they weren't on Lenny Bruce's side either because they were causing heat to them. And Lenny Bruce was doing this thing that they considered wild. And Steve Allen was one of the people that would be more the establishment that was actually trying to help protect Lenny, and wasn't working. But today it's a different story too, because listen, this is entertainment and we're all competitive. You know, we're competing. And some of these people, like with these jokes that we're talking about, you think Carrot Top, I'm not fucking with Carrot Top. Do you think Carrot Top is ever affected by any of this?
I don't think anybody's affected by it who has what they want, what they need. As long as their survival is intact, most people don't give a fuck about what you're going through.
And to the point is, how do you say, and I'm not saying, I'm not calling Carrot Top out. I don't know Carrot Top. I'm not putting anything into this, but he has an act that has been playing in Vegas for a long time, right? He uses props. I'm not knocking that. He has his thing that he does. His act is built for today. It's not making any changes, right? It's not changing any cultures, right? It's just, it is entertaining.
It is what it is.
So again, going back to what I'm saying. So when you attack a comedian that is saying things, you can take away their livelihood, but why did you attack them? Because they were actually meaningful to a conversation and to the culture. The people that are making good money, not being attacked, surviving all this, they don't have any skin in the game. They aren't making the change to a culture. They're not speaking in a way that makes a change. Even if you don't like what they say, then you have the right, not at the comedy club, but to address it. And when you have that right to address it, to speak on it, to write your own opinion, to talk on it, not cancel the person, but you give them that back and forth. That's how you make changes. So the people that you guys consider, and I'm not, when I say you guys, I'm talking about a liberal left that wants all this eradicated, and we're supposed to speak in this proper way. You're removing the change to the culture because the people that you like aren't affecting it, or the people that are saying the same things you are. Now you're just living in an echo chamber, but that's not what everybody's saying. And what happens when you do this and when you push people underground, that's how you have an election. And all of a sudden, the guy that wasn't supposed to win, he wins because no one knew that he was in the race. I love the night that Trump won. And I'll tell you why. I watched all the people at CNN baffled in their face. Like, I don't understand how this is happening. And they're counting and they're looking. I knew why it was happening. Because you forced these people to hide who they were. Dave really talks about this a lot. I don't care what your standpoint is in comedy. Say your truth, because that's the conversation. Be funny, have the conversation, make changes. You hid these people, you hid these beliefs to make yourself feel okay so that you could walk down the street proud of whoever it is that you are. And then I woke up the next day to a woman who read in the paper, or when they announced Trump was the president, screaming. This liberal chick that was screaming. I know everybody knows what I'm talking about because they saw her and she lets out this scream. You made Trump.
Well, to relate to your story, I woke up with a woman once and screamed because she hid who she was behind eyeshadow, makeup, eyelashes, fake tits, fake fingernails, and a fake weave, and a girdle. And when that bitch revealed her true self, I woke up screaming.
There you go. But this is how. But how this gets created.
Right.
You don't understand what you're doing. You know not what you do. Let us point these things out. You don't have to agree with them. Most of us aren't running for office. Zelensky in Ukraine, did I say his name right? Zelensky.
I have no idea.
He's a comic, and he was a comic, and he's actually running a country in a war against a dictator. See what one comic can do against an evil empire?
Right.
We even going to do the Tony Hawk?
Yeah, right now. That was my last note.
Okay,
yeah.
because I
don't have much on Tony Hawk.
Okay, but this is easy for me to talk about. But yeah, because the Tony Hawk thing, kind of, you have to see it. So let's get into it.
Tony Hawk. So it's called Can You Take a Joke? Check that out. I got it on Amazon Prime. You said IMDb. Is that a thing?
Yeah, there is, but no, I got it on Amazon.
Okay,
Wherever. No, I got it on HBO.
Oh, okay. But you can go to Amazon Prime and check it out. And just real quick, I have to ask, then we can jump to Tony Hawk. Is Adam Carolla a comedian?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because he was on there too.
Yeah, I'm just confused by what he does. He's like the white Cat Williams.
But he's a political satirist as well.
Okay.
But
right.
I mean, but he's the angry guy. He was a construction worker, right?
No, I didn't know that.
Okay. Yeah, and it comes out in who he is.
My first introduction to him was The Man Show.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, no, The Man Show was him and Jimmy Kimmel, right?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Tony Hawk. Listen, this is white boy territory. But as I've always said, there's a little white boy in me. There's some white boy in me.
That sounds really wrong.
White boy. There's a white guy that
dwells within
my soul.
There you go.
Okay. And certain things I see white folks do, I'd be curious about. Like I said, on my bucket list was scuba diving, deep sea scuba diving. Did that.
Never done it.
No, never have.
Never.
Jumping out of an airplane. Did it.
Never done it.
Surfing. Because the beauty of watching you ride on that board with that fucking wave seems awesome. But I will never do that because of sharks. I'm not fucking playing with no goddamn sharks. Skateboarding.
I never done surfing, by the way. Just want to let you know.
Are any of those three that you've never done, you would try at some point, you think?
I always wanted to jump out of a plane. At
Right.
this point in my life, wouldn't do it. I don't think. There's no reason to do it.
Right.
There's no bucket list that needs to be filled for me. I do shit as it comes up. When you first go, didn't you have someone else on your back?
Oh, you have to.
Yeah.
You got to do a certain number of jumps before you can go by yourself.
Fuck it, because that's not the way. If we die, that's not how.
I don't think I would ever do it by myself, only because at least if I'm attached to a motherfucker, maybe if we roll right in the air and the chute ain't gonna open, he'll be my cushion to the ground.
No, you'll be inside of him is what will happen. but no, I just don't see that happening. When I think it's beautiful when you see all the people jumping out of the planes and they're together. But when you're part of it, you don't see it that way. You see it better from watching other people do it. So I'll watch some other people. The adrenaline rush must be amazing. I would love that, but at this point, I'm done. I'm out.
Right.
I would try the
deep sea scuba diving.
I don't know if I'd go deep sea, but I'd like to do some scuba. I did snorkeling.
That ain't the same.
I know, not even close.
That's insane.
I know.
One is eating the pussy, and the other one is living in it.
But I would like to try that because it's. But I was even freaked out doing that because I put the food in my pocket, and I didn't realize that like fish can smell food in your pocket. So
I didn't know that.
They attacked all these fish.
A gang of fish on your leg.
Yeah, and it's kind of freaked me out a little bit.
Right.
So that's when you stop snorkeling, you stand up because the water wasn't that deep where I was at, and I was just like, "What the fuck?" So, but I would like to do that. I tried windsurfing, And I could never, I never had the a balance to do it. You're trying to hold the big sail up.
Yeah.
And I would have tried surfing, but there wasn't waves where I was at. It was windsurfing that they did. So those, I would give those a shot.
I guess if you have to be first of all, let me just say, Tony Hawk is officially the Michael Jordan of skateboarding. No one is better.
But before you go on from that, can we say why he's the Michael Jordan?
Yeah.
It's not in your legs and it's not in your arms or it's not in it's in your it's the mental.
Okay, but for the physical parts of it,
you have to have the physical.
He was great.
Yeah, but there's this other switch that only people like Michael Jordan,
Magic Bird,
Tony Hawk,
Tom Brady kid.
There's a switch.
Right.
There's a switch that you have that makes you go through what you go through to do this. And not most people, most sane people don't have this. And that's the difference. And every time we have these fights and I watch you go on with everybody about Jordan, it's that switch that makes you the greatest.
But to double down on that, even the guys who was in his group, I forget what they call it, the brigade something, they all have what he has, but he has it at another level.
The Bones Brigade. But even the one guy goes, no, I could never do that. He said, I never could do that. I was never going to do that.
Right.
I was never, I could do this. But Tony Hawk was the same skill-wise. They talked about how small he was, how he wasn't strong.
Right.
So he figured out a way to do it. That other guy said, I could never do it. So that switch isn't there. Your physical could be there, but your switch, you got to have that switch.
Right.
And that's what's missing. That's why he's the greatest.
Yeah, I think that if I could, just regular skateboarding, classic, one foot on the board, the other foot pushing off the ground, never really excited me. I tried it, but I was just like, what the fuck's the point of this? I could fucking get in a car. But the aerial tricks is where I go. As Tony Hawk described that feeling of an escape, once he felt that rush of being in the air and moving and turning and leaning, I don't know what that is in skateboard terms, but it's got to be the same thing as anything that you do from a passionate level where you feel an out-of-body experience or you feel a different connection than just to regular life or doing something mundane. Yeah, that aerial shit I looked at and went, that's got to be a rush. If I could do that, if I knew I had the physical ability to make myself do that, oh, hell yeah.
So you saw that and that gives you the rush.
Right.
I'm going to tell you something. If you want to do this just one time, go to a pool or go to one of them
ramps
and don't. All I want you to do is put the tail on the ramp on the coping right there, and then just pop it up, and then put your foot on the top of the pop up part, and then look down. That right there,
right?
That's the rush. Dropping in is so difficult because it takes everything that you know. It makes everything that you know wrong. To drop in, you have to mentally change how you look at going down this thing, because everything that you instinctively do will make you crash, make you fall. I can't ride a ramp. I can't.
Right.
I did street skating, and I got to be really honest. And I said I was going to say this in my head last night when we were thinking about doing this. I skated street.
When you say skates, you mean roller skates?
No, skate on skateboard street, not on the street. But I was a poser. I could skate on the street, flat surfaces. I could do a couple tricks, but to be honest, when I saw the thing, I was like, oh yeah, I no, I'm a poser, because you have to be able to. What they said is you have to be willing to know that you're going to get hurt, and not care about that. And that was always, I always cared about getting hurt too much.
Let me tell you, when they open up the documentary and he's trying to do the 900.
Yeah.
I went, and I remember when we were in Florida for Off the Hook, and we saw, and this happens, and you said it happens in Phoenix. I've seen this in Phoenix and Florida. You don't have to wear motorcycle helmets when you ride motorcycles. And I just went, you'd have to be crazy. Because one good hit with no helmet, your head hit that cement, your brain is a smoothie. And I'm looking at Tony Hawk, and a couple of those hits where his head hit the joint, I said, oh, you gotta wear a helmet. You absolutely have to. Even the elbow and the knee pads. Without those, and a lot of those falls, yo, that's your knee scraping that fucking, like, I could just imagine how you could destroy your knees and elbows to the point of skin off, bloody. That way his head hit that, no fucking way.
Dude, if I had any skill whatsoever to ride a ramp and I'm his age and I could do the twists, bubble wrap. That's the only way I'm going down is in a full bubble wrap suit.
Right.
Because I'm not doing that because I'm not going to, and it's, I don't want to jump too far ahead because when we get into the fact when they're all, around 50 or older and they're all skating, recreated something, they talk about, like Stacy Peralta talks about, you saw the other guys pull back.
Right.
And because they have already made the commitment, and here's the word that I'm going to do. I like this word right now. They made the commitment to not getting hurt. They're committed to not going to the hospital.
Right.
They're committed to going home and sleeping in their bed that night. They made that commitment.
Right.
Hawk.
And they still were great.
They were great, but Hawk he's never made that commitment. That's his greatness. There's a person they didn't talk about, and I wish they would have, is Alba, who was still skating pools in his 50s. I don't know if he still skates today. He's from the original Dogtown days.
Right.
That dude was still skating, no shirt on, no pads, pools, 50-something years old. I'm 50. I wiped out on a longboard a few months ago. I think I talked about it a little bit on the podcast. On a longboard, I was just cruising, and I started going down this hill, and there was some car parking situations where I wasn't going to be able to make the turn that I wanted to, and there was really no place for me to go. So I tried to bail out, and I ended up wiping out and fucked up my knee. I had to go. I didn't want to go get x-ray, but I ended up getting x-rays because my doctor said I had to go. And and that was just a little wipeout on a fucking longboard. I can't imagine what he does. And just so people know who are listening to this and don't know really that much about Tony Hawk, if they don't, right almost immediately after this was finished, I think within the week, he broke his leg. So seriously,
I thought in the opening when he kept falling at one point when he went I thought they were going to cut to a broken leg then, which of course would have made me cut that bitch off. So I'm glad they didn't. That moment where all of them kind of reunited and they had that cool photo of all of them kind of emerging together,
recreating the old video that they did.
But then he took a hard hit and got knocked out. And that's when I went, the kind of pain you feel where when people ask you you're okay, you don't answer. You do this. I want no part of that, yo.
You tell he was knocked out because he was trying to get up and they were trying to push him down. And he's out. He's still out.
Right.
And that's when his head hit the back and the helmet popped off.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. That's a moment. And that's a 50-something-year-old, and people say, "Oh, that's Peter Pan complex. That's where you don't want to grow up." That's when you're so passionate about what you do.
You're willing to die for it,
dude. Tom Brady, he's going to come back and play this year.
He's to die for.
Old. I mean, I'm not, and yeah, he's keeping his body healthy and he's doing it. It doesn't make a difference. Inside, there's still an older man. Outside of that pocket that he's playing in, across the line, there's a defensive player that his job is to fucking annihilate you if you go back to pass. That's his job. There's something, again, about the switch that goes in your head that allows you to continue to do that. Because no matter what, no matter how good the offensive line is, there's some of these guys that are going to get by the offensive line and are going to hit him. I don't care how good a shape you are. You age, your bones age, your muscles. You can't continue forever at a 20-something to 30-something level. You start to degenerate a little bit. He's old.
For the record, kid, if Tom Brady died, I would dig up his coffin, open it up, crawl inside, close it, and die with him. If my bones ached like Tom Brady's, I would tell him to jack off till he jizzed on my joints, and he would say, "Why'd you do that?" I'd say, "Your cocky cream is icy hot." He's a wicked kid.
There's a cure in there.
There's a cure in your cum. There's a cure in Tom Brady's cum. The part that they were building up to, and this is why this documentary is good. Because look, I'm a brother, right? And, like I said, the white boy that dwells in my soul looks at something like that. And I have respect for anybody that's an artist at what they do and great at it. But as a black dude, watching this was like me watching a documentary about NASCAR. Like, how interested in this could I be? But then I was pulling for him. This 900 move, I was fucking pulling for him. I actually got a little weepy because the thing that I loved was he kept, every time he failed, you saw it in his face. He gave a fuck in his face, and he kept going, and he kept going. And in my mind, I'm going, he's going to make it. They're building it up to show you that he makes it. So it's coming. Even though I knew it was coming, I'm on the edge of my seat going, come on, man. Come on, Tony, you can do it. And every time he wiped out, I went, because I'm just going, come on, Tony. Come on, Tony, you can do it. I'm pulling for him. And it just made me think about, and I've said it a million times, it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done. And I loved it because that's why, again, I don't want to be all over the place, but the Lenny Bruce thing again, I went, this is how it ends? And I just want to believe that as long as you fight and you get up and you keep moving forward, you win. You win. And it's the one thing I hold on to because I'm going, my career ain't where it should be. A lot of that I'll take the blame for. A lot of that is just fucked up and unfair. It's political. It's blah, 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 blah. Just keep fighting, man. Keep trying to pull off the 900. Because as long as you get up, as long as you keep fighting, you can win this.
Yeah, but this is what's funny about what you just said. Because there's some people, and Hawk being one of them, there's that scene where the guy's talking about, I came over his house, I was living there, and he was throwing out like garbage.
Right.
And he could see trophies sticking out of the garbage because Hawk is just throwing those things away. Because they never meant anything to him. Because those, and I love how he says this, those were representations, those trophies of a moment in time. Just a moment. And when you say the 900, you see him do the 900,
right,
and he wins, that's 900. He finally, in competition, completed a 900. That's recorded. He has that forever. It's not enough. It's not that I could do it yesterday. What can I do today? And that's when you say about going forward. But there is a limitation where skating is enough, not beating what you've done before. And so does he make the adjustment after he comes back from his broken leg? Okay, I may not, my leg isn't going to ever, I'm 50 years old. My leg isn't, at this age, isn't going to heal like it would when I was in my 20s. I'm probably not going to be 100% ever again. Maybe maybe I get to 99. But do I still have to push to do more? Or is skating enough now? It's just the fact that I'm a dude that can skate. Now, I wanted to talk something about, because you said about watching NASCAR. And the one thing about this is because it's about Tony Hawk and it's a very specific moment in time. There's not a lot of, there is racial diversity, but not black.
I saw one picture of a black dude.
Yeah.
During the Tony Hawk shit.
Yeah.
That was it.
But Christian Hosoi, top skater, and Caballero. Caballero is my dude because
he's black?
He's Hispanic.
Okay.
And so, a Hispanic dude, think about where skating started too, by the way.
And remember, Paul Rodriguez's son is a big deal.
Yeah. Well, remember, skating started in San Diego. Well, the street skating part,
right.
Skateboarding, it was San Diego, Dogtown, the whole. And so it goes up through LA. And what is LA though? It's Hispanic. San Diego up to LA. That's a lot of Hispanics.
Right.
And so not to have that representation, have one dude that was a big deal. And I said I was a poser. I had his Caballero boards. Every time had a new board come out, a new deck, I would go and I'd get a new board, and then I'd give my old board to somebody in my family. I had money back then, so I was giving boards away. But it was posing because I wasn't like trying to break any. I wasn't trying to take myself to another level of skating. And when I say that, I mean, I'm never trying to be a pro skater, but why didn't I even want to be able to do a better trick or do more? It just wasn't in me. That wasn't my thing. I just liked the boards, and I liked skating a little bit, but I didn't like skating enough to get hurt. Let's put it that way.
Right.
So, but now skating has so much representation. And that's what I wanted to say, because since this captures a moment in time, a lot of the top skaters are black. And I give a big shout out to like Pharrell.
Niggas eventually take over.
Pharrell like really made that approachable.
Black people do sports like white people have done countries. We take them over, nigga.
And Lupe Fiasco.
Yes.
Yeah, he had skate.
Big shout out to Lupe for putting me in one of his rhymes when he said I'd be on my I'm like Ari Spears on my Jay-Z shit. But go ahead.
But yeah, so I mean, some of that making it cooler to be part of that, but it has really there's the representation. And what I like about skating, and maybe like when we watch this, I never heard anything on this documentary, anything about Asoy and his heritage, Caballero and his heritage. Tony is obviously one of the whitest dudes in the, he's a white dude, but that wasn't talked about because there is something in the skate community that's a little different. And I don't know how it is today because I'm not part of it. But I just have always seen it as, and there's always racial aspects in everything, but it just seemed to transform race in a way where if you could do the tricks, if you could skate the pool, if you could do the stuff that skating was, that wasn't on the table. It was about the skating. So I don't know. I don't know what it's like today.
The other justice moment for me, besides the fact that he accomplished the 900, this motherfucker went from a kid with nothing to becoming a rock star at an early age and having money to going broke to then when he tells the story, because I remember the Tony Hawk PlayStation games. I forgot they made multiple games. I thought they only made one. But he goes to meet with the guy of Activision, and they hand him a check for $4.6 million. And then later on, he does his deal. They advance him $20 million. To go from a kid, a nobody, to a sensation at a rock star level, traveling the world. He said at times he came home from one competition overseas. He had to put the $10,000 check up in the first class cabin closet. And then the next day he had to get up for school.
7 a.m.
7 a.m. And then to go from that to the point where his wife was the breadwinner. He was broke.
As a manicurist.
As a manicurist.
Not as a doctor or a lawyer.
As a manicurist. And he had to tear down the ramp that was in his house, sell his house. Again, I'm going, life is depressing.
No,
but then he won, and he really won.
And what he said, though, he goes, I never gave up on skating.
Right. Oh, that brought me to my point when I wrote this. I always said, and this has always been my belief, you don't walk away from something you love. You just don't. I don't care how much it disappoints you, it hurts you. If you love it and it loves you back, everything works itself out.
Well, there's a lot of people who love certain things, and it's not going to work out. But when you love something, that it becomes a part of you. I think that's the key. Because I know people who love this and they move on to other jobs and they're successful and they're happy.
But it never was a part of them then.
Yeah. It has to be a part of you. It has to truly be, you breathe it, you eat it, you sleep with it. It is who you are. You can't hide it. You can't deny it.
Right.
And when it's that, then I think that you have no choice but to embrace it and continue to move on.
No say in the matter.
Yeah, you got to do it.
Right.
And it was, and what you just said, it's amazing because he could have easily gone on. I mean, this is not taking Stacy Peralta. He just, he went from being part of Dogtown to moving over to being his own brand. I mean, Tony did too. He started Birdhouse.
Right.
He stayed in skating, but he was toying with other things. But Tony stayed a skater, where the other people went to video production, clothing lines, everything that they could do. And there's nothing wrong with doing that. But when your passion is skating, that you have to continue to feed that. And that's what he did. I think his story is untold up until now, because skating is it's still a segment of culture.
Well, they said recently it's now part of the Olympics.
Yeah,
right.
This last Olympics. Right. But it had always been such a small part. It was never like talked about the same way that it is being talked about. But the other part of that is when we talked about the switch, is what gives you that switch. Because you looked at Michael Jordan's life, we don't know a lot about his family's upbringing as far as, there's some other interesting docs out there about Jordan, about who he is, not who he is, but his family upbringing, maybe a little bit. I just watched this other special thing,
which I'm going to watch incidentally.
Okay. But it gives you some insight onto what would make a person that. Like with Tony Hawk, though, when they talk about he was an accident, a happy accident, how his mother describes him. But if you're the kid and you're a happy accident, you're not thinking about the happy.
You think about the accident.
Right. And your siblings are almost they're apparent age. They could have been your parents.
Right.
There's something about growing up with that and looking for the relationship that maybe your older siblings are having with your parents that you're not having.
Right.
Your mom leaving to go pursue her job, your dad who's an older retired military person. It comes with a different to get close to. Most people that are retired military have an outer shell that's a little harder to get through.
Right.
I'm not saying they all do. I'm just saying that's part of it, because that's what the military can kind of do to some people. He had a lot of things to work through. So what makes someone that way? It's not always the good stuff.
Right.
But from these things, great things can arise. And that's why, going back, and not to go back to our other episode, that's why you have to have sometimes words that incite inspiration. And those aren't always positive words.
Right.
So it's great that we can write books about how to be positive, how to raise our children. But some of these kids, regardless, don't come out the way that you thought they would, with all this positive way that you've done. You need to have obstacles that you overcome to become something. You have to have some obstacles. Trying to remove all these obstacles is going to get us a very bland society. Because the obstacles is what gives us our directions. Yeah. So I'm tying these two weird episodes that we just did together in that right there.
I wish I had seen this documentary way before Tony Hawk ever did Mad TV. I would have had a whole new respect for him. I knew of him when he did it, and I was like, oh, Tony Hawk, whatever. But again, I'm a brother. I'm not into skateboarding and all that. But after seeing this, I was like, damn, I wish this documentary would have came out before he did a cameo.
How was he on Mad TV?
He was awesome. Nice guy, super nice guy. But I just, I wasn't invested in him like that, because I just went, yeah, I heard of you, something with skateboards, right? And this is the fucking Michael Jordan of this shit.
Well, but as you watch the video, there's a lot of other people out there that they should have some more respect put on their name as far as their influence in skateboarding.
Right.
But again, going back to what I said in the beginning, since skateboarding doesn't have a huge influence, it's hard to get your name when you're influential on something that not everybody is in tune to. As you just said, when he was on Mad TV.
I mean, the diehard skateboard dudes out there who live that life, live that culture, of course they know who he is. But even Tony Hawk was like, once ESPN grabbed it, it was a big fucking deal. And of course, him being the face and the whole 900 thing really took it to, But how? This is the other thing about people that, like, when you're in, I think of athletics completely different than I probably should, because it's the same. Everything's basically can be broke down to the same.
but to keep your mental together when you're skating in front of large crowds and people are there. So every time the crowd gets bigger, you're probably a little bit more amped up or get excited about it.
Right.
But then you go from crowds to television being broadcast across nations.
Right.
When we had the X Games, and then ESPN, how that doesn't get you a little bit. Like I've never had I would have comics that were well established, famous comics who might come in a day early and we'll sit on in a show, and the other comics are like, oh, and I'd watch them go up there and fucking kill themselves because they got too nervous because the people were there. That never affected me that they were there. But athletically, yeah, it affects me. Like it affects me when we're in those moments. I'm not in athletic. I was playing golf one time. We had a few dollars on this. We were playing like $2 a hole. And I was going to wrap. I was like the 16th hole, and this one hole was going to make the difference because we had tied on a lot, and I missed a 2.5 foot putt because I didn't have it on stage. I have no problem, but on that competition moment in front of four people and a few people that were standing around, I couldn't put it in. So I don't know what the difference.
I remember one time I was trying to fuck this one white chick. And 4 people were standing around, and I couldn't put it in. So I understand the pressure.
So your putter wasn't straight?
Not at all. Matter of fact, my physical stroke was like Charles Barkley's swing. Picture that.
Dude, I don't understand that at all. Because Charles Barkley used to be able to play golf. And then he started...
Wait, before the horrible swing?
He took lessons to get worse.
Oh, wow. So that swing was after?
After lessons.
Wow.
He could play before.
What's more mind-boggling than that is you would think that from an athletic body, I know it's a different sport entirely, but just from pure athleticism, you would be able to adapt. You would be like water. You would fill whatever container.
Some athletes are really good golfers. And I think, honestly, and I'm not saying this because, just from what I've paid attention to, on football teams, the best golfers are usually the kickers. But the kickers have 2 things. One, they have more time because their schedule is different than the regular players, so they have more time to go play golf. But the other thing is, think about a kicker's moment.
Yeah,
is the moment every time. Like if you come out for a field goal, that's the moment. There is no. Well, I'm going to see if I can throw this pass, and if I don't get it, then I'm just going to hand it off to this guy.
Right,
and that guy has one moment. And so you have that guy, the mental on the kicker has to be one of their mental toughness has to be some of the strongest on the team.
Right.
Because there's no do-over.
Well, it's like being a homosexual kid. You have one chance. You got one moment to get in that right hole. If you miss, that's it. Okay. There it is. Any announcements?
I could tell people where we're going to be.
Should we go ahead and let them know about the experiment we're trying?
We're going to get to?
Yeah.
We're going to...
Because we might get to it next week.
Maybe. Yeah.
Andy and I have been having this debate about how to better the podcast in terms of Jew paper.
Our financial stability. We have investment in this too.
So... I just, long story short, don't want him to fuck with the formula for Coke. We can still keep the formula for Coke the way we've been doing it, but we want to introduce Coke Zero or Coke Plus. So we're thinking about doing a half hour of us just bullshitting, maybe doing Instagram Live or Facebook Live where we respond to fans in the moment and make that like a half hour that's only available on Patreon. So as we gear up to do that, we'll keep you guys included in the info process so that we can see how fucking loyal you really are. Are you going to fucking go to Patreon and throw a couple of bucks our way to see some more exclusive content? Yeah, we're going to put you to the test.
Or you could appreciate the content we're giving you now, and you could just join our Patreon for $5. You don't get anything for it, but you'd be saying, that would be our tip, $5 a month just for giving you some entertainment.
We keep giving you motherfuckers these lap dances, and y'all ain't putting none in the G-strings, which is ultimately going to end up making us having to fuck your face.
You're listening to this. It's going to be on the. What is this one? This one's on the 27th. So we're gonna be at Summit City Comedy Club in Fort Wayne, Indiana. We'll
That's
be there.
new.
Yep, that's a new club. The 29th through May 1st, we're gonna be there, and then from there we go to the Pittsburgh Improv.
We've been there before, but
yep.
it's Pittsburgh. It's nice.
That is May 6th through the 8th, and then we're going to be in Louisville. Is it Louisville or Louisville?
Home of the champ, home of the greatest, home of the greatest. Fought all these service battles. I fought them all the greatest. Muhammad Ali, you're being rather truculent, aren't you? Whatever truculent mean, if it's good, I'm that.
We'll be there May 13th to the 15th. And then we're going to be, and we're excited about this because we're back. We're excited about all these dates, but we're excited to be back in New Jersey.
Fucking New Jersey.
At the Stress Factory in New Brunswick.
The fucking Stress Factory.
Where Aries grew up.
I'm fucking New Jersey, North Brunswick, New Brunswick, kind of the Rutgers area.
The 19th to the 21st. And that's a big deal because, and as we announced this Patreon thing, that should be kind of fun because I'm taking Aries to Pizza Land. I'm taking him to the Soprano House where they filmed The Outside. I'm going to take him to Holstein's where Tony did not die, but the audience did, regardless of what some of you all think.
When I go to the Soprano House, whoever owns that, I'm just going to bust up in the fucking place. And I'm going to like, is this your fucking wife? The guy's going to tell me, yeah, and I'm going to fuck her face.
Dude, I wonder how many crazy people went in there and go, hey, is
Tony home?
Tony or Meadow or, especially if it was really crazy. And,
you say they tour that place, right?
No, we just knew. I know where it is because Tara grew up there and she knew the house because she was younger.
I would get goosebumps as we get closer to that
Dude,
house.
it's so funny because I did the video where I played the music and we drove up there.
Right.
And then we get out of the car and they took, I don't know if I said this in the podcast, they took the video away from me because I used the music from the show. So they put that to the people who own the music. Right. But the music was on in the radio. It wasn't like I was using the music to set it up. It was just on there. And Tara and I are having a conversation as we drive over and then you see the house. But I didn't follow I didn't follow the route that you see in the show. I just followed some of the places that we went by. I didn't go by Pizza Land or any of that.
But she knew exactly where it was?
Yeah, it was in her neighborhood that she grew up at.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, we're gonna go there. So we're gonna have some. We'll have some video from that. That should be our start of. That should, if we haven't started the Patreon by then,
right?
That should be the beginning, if nothing else. Maybe.
So will we be able to do it like The Sopranos, like in the car, show us driving?
Can't have the music unless we could recut it in a way and then put our own beats in there.
Woke up this morning. Yeah, shit.
You have to do it something a little different than that.
Yeah.
But that's the only way we could do it. But it's going to be fun. It'd be fun to rent a car, rent the SUV, and drive up there. But it's kind of weird because we drove up, and I guess a lot of people do it, but they didn't come outside. No one came outside or anything. I got out and took a couple pictures, and then
that would be weird, dude. To live there and constantly see cars pulling up in your driveway.
No one. I was the only one. People aren't like on it the same way. Like maybe back then, more people did.
Right.
Because I heard that the people that lived around the neighborhood weren't that thrilled about it.
Of course not.
But they didn't film there. They filmed the outside.
Yeah.
It's cool though. But that's going to be so if you're in that New York, New Jersey area, look for us. We're going to be running around the 19th to the 21st of May. And then we're going to follow that up back in another place. So excited to be Helium, Philly, May 26th through the 29th.
Oh boy.
And I'm going to leave it there. That's
Cosby country. Oh boy. Welcome America. Put the pill in the drink. And oh boy, she's going to hello America. You see, yes, I'm thinking about opening up my own Philly cheesesteak place called Bill's Philly Cheesecock. And what you do is you order a cheesesteak and there's a bun, and then in the middle of the bun is a piece of meat with the cheese and the peppers and all of the cheese whiz and the beautiful things that go on the Philly cheesesteak. And then when you bite it, you're going to hear an ouch. That'll be me on the other side of the bread, hoping that you don't finish it. But if you do, you got to eventually make your way to the balls, which are basically the peppers.
If you went to a Philly place and they had a can and there was Bill Cosby's face on it and says Bill's Cheese Whiz, would you go ahead and let that? Would you put that on you? Would you put that on your cheesesteak?
Probably not. What'd you call it? Bill's Cheese Whiz?
Yeah. It's because that's what a lot of people put the Cheese Whiz on. That's whiz.
Yeah, you know, the ingredients to my Cheese Whiz, the names, Cleo, Rudy, Vanessa, Cynthia, whatever the kids' names was, made all of my whiz. All right. Oh, Jesus. Okay, coming up. This is Big Timers. BME Jinx, Talk My Shit. Instagram is at Worth Every Flaw. That's at WORTH Every EVERY Flaw FLAW. Talk My Shit.
Yeah, and if you have something to say, as you see, we like to address what you have to say, but just don't say it sucked, because that doesn't give us anything. Give us an opinion. But yeah, send in some things. We like talking about it. Thanks for listening to the Spears and Steinberg podcast. If you'd like to know who's responsible for this shit, it was hosted by Ari Spears and Andy Steinberg, produced by Steve Merrick and Anthony Holmes, executive producer, Big Papa, Robert Kelly, and Matt Klein-Schmidt for the Laugh Button Podcast. For more information on where to find us, visit SpearsburgPod.com.